The fighter's advantage. You've seen it in boxing, fencing, even tennis. Those rare left-handed champions who seem to have opponents dizzy before the match even starts. It isn't luck, it's mathematics. Roughly 90% of humans are right-handed, which means almost every athlete trains against righties. So when a left-hander steps up, they bring mirror image angles no one's used to. Their jabs land from unexpected directions. Their serves curve the opposite way. Sports scientists call this the frequency-dependent advantage. The rarer you are, the more confusing you become. In fencing, left-handers dominate podiums worldwide. In table tennis, their spins make world-class opponents miss by millimeters. In baseball, lefty pitchers twist the ball in ways hitters rarely practice against. It's not just surprise, it's neural disruption. The brain's prediction model falters for half a second, and that's all it takes for a knockout punch or a strike. And here's the twist. When left-handers become common in a sport, the edge shrinks, which means their advantage literally feeds on rarity. Evolution built them to thrive as outsiders. So, if you've ever been told you play differently, that's the point. You do, and it works. But physical advantage is just the beginning. The brain that crosstalks differently. Ever wondered why some left-handers seem more adaptable, creative, or ambidextrous? It's because their brains aren't just mirrored, they're less strictly divided. In right-handers, language and fine motor control mostly live in the left hemisphere, but in left-handers, those functions are often distributed across both hemispheres. That means when one side of the brain takes a hit, say from a stroke, left-handers are statistically more likely to recover language skills faster. Their brains share the load. This cross-hemispheric traffic can also translate to faster strategy switching and problem solving. When most people hit a cognitive wall, left-handers sometimes find a backdoor, literally using alternate neural routes. Think of it as your brain's built-in detour system. You might not always take the shortest path, but you'll find one that works when the map changes. And if that sounds abstract, look around from Da Vinci to Marie Curie to Bill Gates. History's full of left-handers who solved problems by flipping the angle everyone else assumed was fixed. The ancient survivor. Imagine the prehistoric hunt. Two humans approach prey. One throws with the right hand, the other with the left. Predators and enemies are wired to defend against the majority side. A sudden left-handed strike comes from an angle their instincts misread. Some anthropologists believe that this combat asymmetry helped maintain left-handed genes throughout evolution. In violent societies, left-handers were sometimes overrepresented among survivors because unpredictability was protection. In other words, the left hand may have been humanity's original trick move, an evolutionary strategy for chaos. Today, the battlefield's changed, but the principle remains. Left-handers are often quicker at switching tactics when situations flip. That same cross-wiring between brain hemispheres can help them improvise when patterns break. So no, you're not clumsy, you're wired for surprise. And if you think this is all ancient history, wait until you see how that instinct shows up in modern life. The ultimate edge adaptation. In evolution, survival rarely belongs to the strongest or fastest. It belongs to the most adaptable. Left-handers are living proof of that rule. From prehistoric fights to modern classrooms, their advantage has never been dominance, it's difference. They succeed not by fitting into systems, but by subtly redesigning them. That's why left-handedness keeps showing up generation after generation, despite being a minority. Nature doesn't waste what works. A population with a few left-handers is more unpredictable, more creative, and ultimately more resilient, both in combat and cooperation. In a sense, humanity needs its left-handers, the way an orchestra needs a counterpoint to break monotony, to challenge the rhythm, to keep evolution awake. So when we talk about hidden advantages, we're not just listing perks, we're recognizing a genetic strategy for survival built on the power of being different. The social outsider advantage. Now let's step out of the brain and into society. Being left-handed has never been easy. For centuries, cultures across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East associated the left hand with bad luck, impurity, or even evil. The word sinister literally comes from the Latin for left. So how does living in a world stacked against you shape someone's mind? Psychologists have found that people who grow up as minority-handed often develop stronger empathy and perspective-taking skills. They learn to predict what others expect and then navigate around it. This kind of meta-awareness, seeing the world from both sides, literally can be an unseen superpower in leadership, design, and conflict resolution. It's the empathy of the outsider. When you've spent your whole life flipping tools and adapting to others' expectations, you learn how systems are built and how to hack them. So yes, the world might be right-handed, but left-handers often grow up mastering both worlds. And that brings us to something even more surprising, the way left-handers quietly influence entire civilizations. The everyday adaptation edge. Here's something you probably never think about. Being left-handed means living in a world that's physically backward. Door handles, cameras, spiral notebooks, everything's built for righties. So what happens? Left-handers adapt. From childhood, they learn to reverse instructions, mirror tools, and switch layouts just to function comfortably. That constant micro-adaptation trains something psychologists call cognitive flexibility, the ability to reframe and improvise under constraint. It's like doing mental gymnastics every day without realizing it. By the time they're adults, most left-handers can use both hands for different tools, flip computer mice, or even write backward notes that righties can't decode. And that's not trivial. Studies show that forced ambidexterity builds new neural pathways that support multitasking and resilience. So yes, your scissors might hate you, but your brain loves the challenge. And if you think adaptation stops at tools, let's zoom out. Left-handers aren't just adjusting their grip, they're quietly redesigning entire workflows. The hidden medical superpower left-handedness doesn't just influence how you write or play sports, it can shape how your body recovers. Here's something few people know, because left-handers often have less lateralized brains. They may be more resilient to certain injuries. When a right-hander suffers a stroke on the language side of the brain, speech can vanish entirely. But in left-handers, language functions are more distributed across both hemispheres. That means if one side is damaged, the other can often pick up some of the slack. Neurologists call this neural redundancy, and it's like having a backup hard drive for your brain. It doesn't make left-handers invincible, but it does mean they might have alternative neural pathways to rebuild speech and movement faster than right-handers. And here's the poetic twist. That same wiring that once confused right-handed predators in ancient combat now helps modern left-handers outthink neurological damage. Evolution always finds a way to recycle its best ideas. So if anyone ever jokes that your brain is backward, tell them maybe that's exactly why it's more resilient. The cultural imprint left-handedness didn't just shape individuals, it left fingerprints across human history. In combat, left-handed warriors were legendary. Ancient Celts and samurai noted their unpredictability in battle. Medieval duelists feared southpaws who could strike from unseen angles. Even in modern politics, left-handers make up a striking number of leaders. Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and several US presidents were southpaws. Coincidence? Maybe. But political scientists have pointed out that left-handers often bring high verbal ability combined with flexible thinking, a combo linked to success in negotiation and public speech. In art and science, the same pattern appears from Leonardo da Vinci sketching mirrored notebooks to Jimi Hendrix flipping his guitar strings upside down. Their genius wasn't just in their ideas, it was in their ability to invert the obvious. That's the secret. Left-handers don't just adapt to the world, they reinterpret it. So if you've ever been teased for your handwriting, or struggled with a right-handed desk, or felt off in a world built the other way, remember this: you're not a design flaw. Your evolution's reminder that difference is functional. Left-handers teach the rest of us what adaptation really looks like: a small daily rebellion that turns inconvenience into ingenuity. Maybe that's why some of history's most remarkable thinkers wrote, painted, and created from the left side, because their brains were literally wired to ask, what if the world looked different? And if that doesn't make you proud of your left hand, I don't know what will. So next time someone calls you lefty, just smile and say, yeah, and that's my competitive advantage. We explain a lot around here. Subscribe before your DNA gets jealous.